Good morning, guys. Good morning. Morning so far. It is Thursday, and actually, it is September 11th. And those of us who are old enough remember that date in America, in the world, practically. We will remember what happened on this day 20 to the towers in New York. Not why we are here. We send our sincere condolences to the families of those who were directly, because we're all affected, but those who were directly affected by that tragedy. Today is the anniversary of that event. But this morning, we are here to do what we're going to do again. And for the people over here, yeah, you people that I'm pointing on, Emily and Max and the others, Camille, and the others, good morning. For those of you over here, start next week, we are not going to be doing the Bible reading series over here anymore. Okay? We're going to continue to do it on the tube. So, so yeah. We're not going to be doing it over here for obvious reasons. They are changing all their guidelines and all of this. They don't want us to be talking about religion and politics and all of that stuff. So therefore, we are not going to. We are going to take everything that has to do with the reading of the Bible. Yeah, those questions, those concerns, we're going to take those over to YouTube. Okay? Just making sure you all know. So when y'all don't see me, don't say, Lord Trev disappear again. Where she gone? Y'all will know exactly where to find me. I'll try my best to put a little notice whenever I'm going to be on YouTube, so y'all can know when I'm over there. Y'all will know where to find me. But I'm just letting you know that coming Sunday. Yeah. Sunday, right? That's when their new guidelines go into effect. Yeah, that day. The 13th. When is the 13th? Today's the 11th, 12th, 13th. Okay, so they go in effect on Saturday. So on Sunday, starting next week, we won't. All right. But thanks to you all for coming. Those of you who were here a couple mornings ago when we started the book of the First Kings. Somebody had called to recommend that we do the First Kings. So that's where we started for this series, the book of First Kings. And for those of you who have never read the Bible, you might want to come with us on this journey. We have done it already. Um, we ended earlier this year. We did this the for it took us 3 years in between my little hiatuses that I went on and stuff. But we did it. We did it from Genesis through to Revelation. Very eye opening, after all, I should say. Very eye opening. But now people are requesting different chapters, different books. So we are going to do it. It's not going to be in order this time. We are going to be doing it because sort of not, I wouldn't say haphazardly, but we are doing the books as they are coming, as people come in with recommendations. All right. So somebody recommended we do First Kings, and 2 days ago when we started, 2 days ago when we start, wait, let me fix that phone here. When we started with the First Kings, we found how interesting that part that part of the Bible is. Yeah, for those of you who were not here, we're going to recap a little bit. Let me see how much of it I can remember. Please forgive me if I forget a name or two. But I hope you get the gist of the story, actually. So, in First Kings 1, David is very old. He's on his we're gonna say his deathbed. He's very very old. He's a very old man at this point, and his servants determined that, oh well, the king is very old. He's not getting, the Bible calls it heat. He's not getting any heat, and that heat they mean that he is not sexually active. Okay? Remember, David had all these wives and concubines, but we're going to continue talking. They said the king wasn't getting any heat. So, to revive the king sexually, they decide that they're going to go in search of a young virgin girl because that is supposed to revive the king. So they went out searching and they found this young Shunammite girl called Abishag. They brought Abishag to the king. She was, they describe her as being fair and beautiful and all this. Okay? That was what was supposed to revive the king, who was very old at this point and dying. Okay? Abishag is with David. But there is trouble in the camp. There's a lot that is going on in David's life. Because you see, David had this son, Adonijah. Adonijah and Absalom was the child who, you ever hear your grandmother say, the picnic where they go bite off your ears? Adonijah was that child for David, the one that was going to bite off him ears, because David never told Adonijah that he was wrong. And if you go back and you read in, I think it was verse 2, I believe, David never told Adonijah he was wrong. It's like Adonijah got away with anything he did. Okay? Now, Adonijah takes that step further. He sees that his dad is on his deathbed. He says, you know what? I am just going to assume the throne. I am just to assume the throne myself. So what does Adonijah do? He calls up the people he thinks are loyal to him. He gathers the people up. He gathers a priest. He gathers all these people who were in agreement with him. He gathers up his 50 men who were traveling with horses and horse-drawn carriage and all these things. And he puts together a feast. Animals were slaughtered and all of this. And this feast was supposed to have him crowned as the next king of Israel. So while he's having this celebration, he decides that he was not going to invite people like Zadok. Zadok was the priest for David, very loyal to David. He wasn't going to invite people like the prophet Nathan. Nathan was very loyal to David. He was not going to invite the noblemen who were loyal to David. But he invited some others, like Joab. Joab had been loyal, doing dirty work for David all along. But he at this point, Adonijah invited people like Joab, the priests, all those people. So anyway, while he's having this celebration, Nathan and Solomon and Zadok, well, what the hell is going on here? What is all this noise, all this trumpet blowing and all these things? Adonijah is having a ceremony to make himself king? Nathan was having it. They were not having it. So Nathan goes to Bathsheba. Bathsheba was Solomon's mother. He's making himself king when the king dies? You know what that's going to mean for you? Yeah, if Solomon, your son, don't become king, then you won't even have any say around here. So that was his way of kind of boosting up Bathsheba. So he tells Bathsheba, this is what you're going to do. You're going to go into King David and you're going to tell him what Adonijah is doing and remind him that he had said repeatedly that Solomon was going to ascend to the throne after he dies. You please go remind him. So Bathsheba, and she goes in and she goes to David and she says, you remember you had said repeatedly that Solomon is the one who was going to ascend to the throne after you. And now Adonijah is down there having a whole celebration, making himself king. And Nathan goes in and he reinforces what Bathsheba says. Because David never tell Adonijah is wrong. To him, Adonijah has never done anything wrong. He always opposed with Adonijah. But now he's being faced with his own mortality. And as a king, they were telling me, well, you got to keep your word because you did say, you have said it repeatedly that Solomon is the son you want to assume the throne after you. So David was like, okay, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. Why don't y'all just go get my mule, the royal mule, and go get this, that, the other, and the third, and have the celebration for Solomon. The celebration for the incoming king takes place the current king passes away. So David is now doing it before he passes away, so as to ensure that the person he wants to assume the throne gets, which is Solomon. So he makes this. He tells them, "Go get my royal mule for Solomon to ride on. Go get this, that, the other, and the third, and take him down to Guyana, I think it was, and have this celebration." So they did that. They got the royal mule, put Solomon on the royal robe, put him on the mule, and rode on down, started this whole celebration, the people knocking their timbrels, etc. When the people who were at Adonijah's celebration heard this big commotion, heard the celebration in town, timbrels, trumpets blowing, whatever, they were like, what in the world is going on? What's happening? So Jonathan comes in, and Jonathan says, you know what is happening? They are celebrating in town because the king has just made Solomon king. And so the whole town is having a celebration. So now they know what I'm doing. My father is not in agreement with what I am. David passes away. David is buried. He is what the Bible calls, he's gathered to his fathers, meaning he died. So David dies. Solomon, Adonijah, with some audacity, he goes to Bathsheba. Nix, what's up? He goes to Bathsheba and he asks Bathsheba to go and ask Solomon if he can have Abishag for his wife. Talk about audacity. Talk about audacity. Adonijah, who just tried to take his brother's inheritance, is now going to his brother's margin girl. And boy, Solomon was so mad at his mom. He said, how dare you come ask me that on Adonijah's behalf, as though you don't see what Adonijah does. Well, why don't you take the whole kingdom? Give it to him. If you have the audacity to ask me this question, just take the whole kingdom. Take everything that's here. Give him the throne. Give him everything. That was his response to his mom. Rightfully so. Right? He's upset with himself about what he has done. That his brother is going to him. Solomon sends for him. He says he's scared to go in his brother's face because he thinks his brother is going to him. You know that in the Bible, that seemed to be the punishment for everything. For everything. You do something somebody don't like. I hardly see, as someone who has read the Bible from the beginning to the end, I hardly have seen the forgiveness that people talk about that you should follow in the Bible. I'm just saying. There is a lot of, you upset me, I'm gonna you. That's the answer. But anywho, in the end, the people came, they told Solomon that Adonijah was in the temple holding onto the horns, hoping Solomon just go home. Don't come back around here. I don't want to hear from you. Don't come back around here. Just go home. That's just part of the story, as I remember, without even looking in the Bible. Okay. Now, David, before David passes away, David called Solomon in to see him, to have his final little talk with Solomon. And David tells Solomon that there are some people that David, wants Solomon to take care of. And we're gonna talk a couple of the people that he told Solomon he wanted him to take care of. David wanted Solomon to take care of Joab. Now, if you all have read and remember who Joab was, that Joab at that time, because there are several Joabs in the Bible, but that Joab at the time, remember Joab was one of David's soldiers, like a captain or something like that. Remember David, when he sent Bathsheba's husband with the letter, it was to take it to Joab, I believe it was, to put him in the front of the battle so he could die so David could get Bathsheba. Right, so Joab was very close to David. But Joab had assassinated 2 captains, and David did not like it because David said, you can remember the names. Don't hold me to account for the names. Hold me to account for the story. During a time of peace, Joab had gone ahead and assassinated these 2 captains. And they did not like it because their father was David's friend. And David thought as if a betrayal that his soldier would have assassinated these 2 men. These two men, and it wasn't at a time of war. Because at a time of war, it seemed like it was fair game. You are coming at me, I'm coming at you. One of us might get unalived. But this was at a time of peace that Joab had assassinated these 2 men, and David was angry. But David did not act on that anger while he was alive. He waited to leave this as Solomon's legacy, as his legacy to Solomon. So he tells Solomon, Joab, I do not want Joab to go down to the grave in peace. I want you to make sure that he goes down with blood on his head. And tells you all you need to. That's what he means when he says that. So he gives Solomon that instruction. He also instructs Solomon about Adonijah. He also instructed Solomon about Shimei. Now, Shimei, we're going to recap a little bit about who Shimei was. Shimei was the guy, if you all had read the story of David running away from his son Absalom, who was hell-bent on him, Shimei was one of those guys who, when he saw David running away, being chased by Absalom, he, for whatever reason, he was angry at Shimei. Kizin, what's up? Shimei was one of the guys who did not like David much, cared much. So Shimei cursed David so bad, called him a dog, and threw stones at him. And David carried that with him the whole time. After Shimei had done this, David men, you see a long time you don't see me, girl. All this big leagues. Sir, listen, it has been. But here I am now. Anyway, yes, I am here now, big leagues. I am here. Sometimes you gotta take a break, Sometimes you gotta take a break. So anyway, So Shimei was that guy who had cursed David and had also and thrown stones at him and all this, called him a dog and everything else. So David's soldiers had asked Shimei, with David, not mean to I David is yeah, so David Shimei, no man, me not hurt you. I would never do that. You can come back with us too. This time David was carrying what we call baby. Yeah. He was there king for David. Shimei had done to David years ago. That's how Joab went out. His brother Adonijah was that's how he went out. And Shimei he gave Shimei all these restrictions that if Shimei ever left Israel and went out, he shall surely die. Shimei agreed, okay, then I will never leave the gates of the city. But then something happened and they told Shimei he had to go someplace to go see out, I think his son or something like that. He went and he came back. When he got back, Solomon's soldiers told Solomon, listen, did you know that Shimei went to Kingston and he came back to St. Anne? Something like that. Solomon went to Shimei and says, love, what's up? How are you doing, my love? Solomon went to Shimei and said, did we not agree that you were not supposed to leave town? Shimei said, yes, I left town, but I went and I came back. Solomon says, well, you have broken the agreement. I told you were never supposed to leave. So now that you have left and come back, it is for you. He used it as a ruse. It wasn't just because Shimei had left. It's his Shimei he wanted. And Solomon takes the throne. And then Solomon is now king of Israel. All right. Story sound like it's storying so far? Okay. So that was chapters 1 of the first Kings. So we'll continue this morning. We don't have the whole day, but we're going to make use of every minute that we have. Okay? So we're going to move on to thank you, my love. Thank you. We're going to move on to chapter 3. It's in the Bible, I know which part it then, but me know say it in the Bible. Well, I can understand. Put a piece of something. Give me 10 minutes. I want to see this. How my child managed to finish the bus. You can't tell me. But anywho, we are going to continue. If I hear them say, man, I plan and gotta wipe out. I plan to sing a song read for you, But now my child missed the bus. So I'm going to go drop her at school. Anywho, we're going to read chapter 3 first before we do that, okay? Because we just get down into it, We are just getting into it. Right, Dana? We are just getting into it. All right, I'm going to do chapter 3. And Solomon made affinity with Pharaoh, king of Egypt. So now Solomon is aligning himself with king of Egypt and took Pharaoh's daughter and brought her into of Jerusalem round about. So this was what Solomon just go live in the house that his father has left. Okay, so he went to Egypt. You notice that the descendants of I kind of they're supposed to marry anybody who is not a descendant of like because to the bloodline and all of this. But we are seeing where several of them have been moving away from that little by little. So Solomon, Pharaoh's daughter, because you see, he wants to align himself, wants to be very close with the Egyptians. That way he get Egyptian favors. You never know. He will have some influence on whatever the Egyptians do, whatever the Pharaoh do, because Pharaoh might like him as his son-in-law, something like that. Okay? So this is what Solomon does. He marries an Egyptian woman, the Pharaoh's daughter to be exact, and he's building his house and he's building a wall around Jerusalem. Only the people sacrificed in high places because there was no house built unto the name of the Lord on until those days. And Solomon loved the Lord, walking in the statutes of David his father. Only he sacrificed and burnt incense in high places. And one king went to Gibeon to sacrifice there, for that was the great high place. 1,000 burnt offerings did Solomon offer upon that altar by night. And God said, Ask what I shall give thee. And Solomon said, Thou hast shown unto thy servant David my father great mercy, according as he walked before thee in truth, and in righteousness, and in uprightness of heart with thee. And thou hast kept for him this great kindness, that thou hast given him a son to, and thy servant is in the midst of thy people, which thou hast chosen, a servant standing and understanding heart, to judge thy people, that may discern between good and bad. For who is able to judge this thy so great a people? Let us continue. And this speech pleased the Lord. Pattern, what's up? And the speech pleased the Lord that Solomon had asked for these things. And God said unto him, Because ask for this thing, and hast not asked for thyself long life, neither thou ask for riches for thyself, neither hast thou asked for the life of thine enemies, but hast asked for thyself understanding to discern judgment. Behold, I have done according to thy words. Lo, I have given thee a wise and an understanding heart, so that there was none like thee before thee, neither after thee shall any. So, love, good to see you. Happy Thursday. Good to see you. We are on now to verse 14 of chapter 3. If thou wilt walk in my ways to keep my statutes and my commandments, as thy father David did walk, and Solomon awoke. Now this was in a dream. Remember? And Solomon awoke, and behold, it was a dream. And he came to Jerusalem, and stood before the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and offered up burnt offerings. Welcome into the morning. If you have landed on the page. Yes. We are doing First Kings on the request of one of our listeners, wanted us to go over the first between me and you. I say when you go, I'm gonna do like the servant them did do with David. The servant them said David wasn't getting any heat, so they wanted David to get heat. So they went and brought him a young virgin girl. Can you imagine? And remember, did they not say, did the Bible not say, God said David was a man of his own heart? Sometimes when we read the Bible, baffles me. It not baffle you too? He says David was a man of God's own heart. Yet, David carried all of this revenge in his heart for these people and waited until he was on his dying bed to tell Solomon he wanted Solomon to carry out these revenges for him. Ain't that something? Hmm? Tell them AG so they don't know ramp with you. They don't know ramp with you. No ramp when I get old, I will bring you no child. Tell them we ain't doing that. Mm-mm. We ain't doing that. And that I got about 5 minutes because you know drop me and come back. I mean I want her for late. Let's continue. Verse 16 says, came and they stood, I and this woman dwell in one house, and I was delivered a child with her in the house. Yeah. So the two harlots, one came to David, came to Solomon, say, listen, king, the two of us live in this house, and I have this baby. Those of you who read the Bible know the Bible story. I know where the story going, right? And we were together. There was no stranger with us in the house. It was only the two of us. And she arose in the middle of the night and took my son from beside me while I slept, and laid it in her bosom, and laid her dead child in my bosom. And when I rose and to give my child suck, behold, it was dead. And I had the child, your child. So here the accidentally laid on baby baby. Accidentally laid on baby. The mother wakes up in the morning to give her baby breast, and she noticed the baby is dead. But then when the day lights out, she said, oh, that is not my baby. When she looks at the other woman's baby, she says, well, that is my baby. So now they're fussing about the baby. So she comes to Solomon for him to rectify this problem. Verse 23. Then the king said, the one that says, this is my son that lives, and thy son is dead. And the other said, no, but your son is dead, and my son is alive. And the king said, bring me a sword. And they brought a sword to the king. And the king said, divide the living child in two, and give half to one and half to the other. Then the woman who believes the living child was heard said unto the king, for her bowels yearned upon her son. And she said, oh my lord, please don't. I'd rather you give my child to that woman so my child can live than to cut the baby in two. And you know what the other woman said? The other woman who had lain on her baby, whose baby was the dead baby, she said, yeah, cut the baby in two. Give me half and give her half. Now you tell me. Now, if that wasn't proof enough that it really wasn't her baby, nothing else. Because the real mother of the baby would not want her baby to die. So that's when Solomon realized that the woman who was now holding a dead baby was the real mother for the living baby. The other woman wanted, at this point, she would have been happy that both babies were dead. If she said, yeah, cut the baby in two, knowing that half a baby can't survive. So let us see what Solomon did. Verse 26, then spake the woman whose the living child was unto the king, O my Lord, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. Don't slay the baby. But the other woman said, let it be neither mine nor hers. Divide it. Then the king answered and said, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. She is the mother of the child. And all Israel heard the judgment which the king had judged, and they feared the king, for they saw that the wisdom of God was with him to do judgment, to do right by them, to split justice. And so the people celebrated their king, Solomon. That's the end of chapter 3. Mr. Pang, what's up? Mr. Pang, you are so right. You are so right. Not all of it, some parts of it. That is why I say that we have to read it for ourselves and get context out of it. Yes. Use it contextually, you know. Because a lot of these things, I don't know if they really occurred. I don't think some of the things that I'm reading in here really occurred. But we have to understand that from the beginning of time, humans have been concerned about how we got here. And there have been so many theories about how we got here. All civilizations from the beginning of humanity have tried to explain it. And still, nobody can. Nobody knows who is correct. Exactly, Pasha. Nobody knows who is correct and who isn't. So I just think we all have to just live together until we are no longer here. But there is not one theory about how we got here, how we are supposed to behave while we are here, or what's going to happen after we leave here. The veracity of none of that has been proven. So nobody is right or wrong. Everybody just have a different ideology. That's all. We don't need to argue about it. We don't need to fuss about it. We don't need to fight about it. We just have to accept. Mr. Child, Mr. Lover. The pitney left and go to the bus stop. I come back, come tell me say the bus gone. She missed the bus at 6:30 in the morning. But she had to get to school at 7. So I'm going to run off. I'm going to take her to school. And then when I come back, we're going to get back to this. And let me run along and take her to school. And then stuff happens. But But me did say me want seriously, Pasha. No, she missed the blog bus. I miss the people at Jamaica talk about. Then I met them pitney going at them the bus there. And those buses I put them driving out, like seriously. But anyway, yeah. Them still see and bus them, and then say the big old ugly bus them. Yeah, she missed the big old ugly bus. But me I go carry her. So may I go and come back. Jokes aside, let me go and come back, my friends. I will see you all in a few minutes. All right? May I come? May I come? Exactly. It will take me about 20 minutes. It will take me about 20 minutes. 20 minutes to get around there and 20 minutes come back. Hey, Jimmy, soon